I would like to introduce you to the work we do here at Ability Camp Inc. We offer two different programs. The first that we will discuss, Conductive Education, is a therapeutic setting that we offer for children with cerebral palsy and other disorders such as hydrocephalus, traumatic brain injuries, and spina bifida. The second program we offer is Hyperbaric Oxygen Therapy, which is available for children in combination with our Conductive Ed classes or as a separate program. This alternative therapy is also available to adults who have suffered a stroke, have multiple sclerosis, or suffer with fibromyalgia. You are currently watching children in our Conductive Education class. Unlike traditional North American therapies, we work with children in small groups. Our sessions use the peer dynamics of a class setting to help make the therapy more fun. The children get to copy each other or at times compete with them. If one child learns to do something new, it can help to motivate the rest of the class to try and do the same. Many children only receive 1 hour of therapy per week on average. You may wonder, is my child getting the therapy that they need, or are they getting what is allowed? For those of you that have tried to hire additional therapy, I'm sure you have found it to cost $200 per hour or more. Ability Camp provides a more cost-effective solution for getting additional help for your child. We work with children for 5 to 6 hours each day and provide free accommodations, all for a cost far less than the price of 1 hour of traditional therapy. Like a preseason training camp for an athlete, our sessions give children the opportunity to learn new skills and allows them the time to practice and strengthen these skills before they return home. In the traditional North American system of therapy, we have tried to adapt our environment towards the needs of the disabled person, with ramps, lifts, etc. However, in Hungary, where these programs originate, their goal was to train the individual to adapt to the environment around them. Conductors work on basic skills such as feeding, toileting, rolling, sitting, standing, and walking. But even more importantly, they help teach the children how to find a solution that will allow them to accomplish their goals. It is this skill, more than any other, that helps give children the spark to explore their own possibilities. Written reports and videos showing before and after are given to each family so that you can share with your therapist, schools, and other family members what the children have been working on. Many families have told us that even though they may live in a large city, they still feel that there is no one that they can share their thoughts and feelings with. No one that they know has a child with a disability. Here at the camp, families form a close bond with each other and share thoughts, feelings, and ideas. There are no miracles for sale. CP cannot be cured as of yet. However, children can be taught to use what they have to the best of their ability. I'm sure the real question that you want to know is, what can Ability Camp do for my child? I think the best way to answer this is to let some of our clients tell you about their thoughts and accomplishments while here at Ability Camp.
And I just want to say, just to kind of reinforce the progress, and I will talk for my child. I don't know if you guys want to talk for your child too, but my child, like I said at the beginning, was walking with forearms and had braces, and when we took the braces off, could not even stand upright. Had no balance at all, had no muscles. So we came in like that. He could not even be on his foot, and 5 weeks later, actually also at the beginning, he could only do with his shoes and braces like 2 steps, 3 steps, like maybe 3-4 steps, and he was falling, and he had no, he couldn't walk. And now 5 weeks later, and this is what's so powerful, he could walk without his canes, barefoot and without his shoes, for a nice, at least 20 steps. Oh, he did 52 for me. 52 steps in one class. So 52 steps, and maybe he fell like once or twice. And he can go across the room, and they said from the bathroom to there, and he fell actually twice. And some days are better than others, but just to show you how powerful the program can be. And all those children did actually like big strides like that. So I just wanted to emphasize that. So it shows the power of the program.
Because Nicholas can never have walked a step in his life and is now walking independently in the walker. And it's just unbelievable to me. Unbelievable to me that can happen in such a short amount of time with just common sense, simple tasks and exercises and a little bit of work. But he's stepping back.
Yes.
He's stepping back and saying, you can do this. Instead of saying, be still, you're going to fall, you can do this and I'm going in the other direction.
It's good for me and also good for Charles B to see. He's always in a setting where children are typical, and I think it was a nice setting to see that everybody. I think it was encouraging to see all the other children working so hard.
Everybody has a hard fit in.
Yeah, they fit in, and I think there was a lot of camaraderie and loving. The kids got to know each other, and it was a very nice and positive environment for the kids.
Yeah, and I don't know that it would be the same if we all came here for the 5 hours in the classroom a day and then went to hotel rooms and never spent time with the support and the networking of the parents.
We've had a lot of successes with potty training. And I think it really was because my son overheard other children saying, Mommy, I have to go potty, or another so-and-so did go potty, and he thought to himself, I'm going to go potty.
And he did. Yes.
Before we came, the only way she could get around was with her walker and her orthotics on, or with her orthotics and assistance, holding her hand. And her balance was really poor. She was really skittish about anything. If anybody walked within a couple of feet of her, she'd kind of freak out and fall over. But I think that's the biggest thing is that she's a lot more confident. Her balance is better, and she's walking without her orthotics or her walker. I mean, you still have to. She has to think that you're holding her, but once she doesn't know that you're not holding her, she'll walk freely. She's. We were at a restaurant last night. She just in a booth with like a padded, seat. She just stood up and was like clapping her hands and swinging her hands back and forth, standing up on her own for a couple of minutes until she realized what she was doing. Then she leaned back. But I'm really happy with the results. I think that I would recommend people to come here.
It's definitely worth the 5 weeks with the accomplishments we got. Can't promise everybody will get the same thing out of it, but definitely would never tell anybody not to try it. But with the walker, she would go straight. She had no idea how to maneuver to be functional. She's walking by herself, which she wasn't doing before we came. She's more attentive. Her attention span's better. She recognizes songs that they sing in class. So it's definitely positive. And I know telling people at home, she's doing it, they're all like, oh, okay. Because they don't see it. And because maybe I'm not crying on the phone. She's walking, but I think when I go home, it's just going to kind of set in. I just never thought that I would see it. Well, 5 years go by, and you just kind of think, well, this is what she's going to be. There's, therapies we've done and stuff, and really have small changes. So you kind of get used to that, okay, this is going to be my kid with a wheelchair, and that's it. So now that she's walking, it's just shocking, but I think I kind of have to absorb that she's doing it and then go home and cry about it.
Our system has evolved into a very caring, compassionate system for taking care of kids with special needs. That is not always what the kids need. And if you don't put them in the right position to where they can learn how to do anything from taking their socks on and off to feeding themselves to walking, they're not going to learn it sitting in a wheelchair. And I wish that we had started conductive education when Jacob was 6 months old instead of when he was 6 years old. Because it puts you on the right path, as far as I'm concerned. It's a path that's going to get you to where you want to go faster. It's been the best change for us since we've had Jacob. So, yeah, it's great. And I would hardly advise it for anybody that's wanting independence for a child. Jacob is a very social child anyway, and he enjoyed the other kids being around him, and I think it helps motivate him. we were very satisfied with the camp as a whole. The accommodations are very adequate. It's a wonderful opportunity to meet other parents, to compare notes, to say, this is what we've tried, to find out what somebody else has tried. And you can't get that information anywhere else. You can't get it from the medical community. You certainly aren't going to get it if you don't get around other families. And that was one of the highlights of the trip, was the meeting other people, making friends, that were swapping email addresses and being able to continue that transfer of information. It's been good on both sides because not only have we made friends with the other parents and other children, but Jacob has too. And I think it's a great motivator. We walk with Jacob down the hallway when he goes to get his bath at night. And we've had as many as 4 other families in the hallway saying, "Go Jacob, go," and cheering him on. And it answers our question to say, we know where we want Jacob to go. How do we get Jacob there? And conductive education has answered that question for us.
We're Chris and Christine Garten from Savannah, Georgia, and our daughter Jessica is now 11 years old. Most of her time at home is spent with the therapist. She goes twice, sometimes 3 times a week, and the therapist really manipulates her muscles for her. Whereas here, the whole emphasis from the beginning is on encouraging kids to do small movements that are related to standing, and related to sitting, and related to walking. She's standing straighter, her arms and legs are stronger, and those are the kinds of things that you don't get by manipulating the muscles, you get them by using them.
We're both school administrators, and we know a lot about teaching, and from the very beginning, the conductors have that wonderful balance of warmth and genuine love and care for the children, but they also have real strict standards. So it's really unique to find that balance of warmth and rigor. And Jessie responded from the very beginning. She loves the conductors here, and in addition to the social dynamics that Chris said, it's really the relationship she's developed over time with the conductors. She really will do anything for them, and it's like in teaching. The child does anything for the teacher rather than for the parent, and it's the same situation here. It's the combination of real good, solid teaching, the way the sessions are set up, the repetitive activities, the memory from the muscle to the brain, and different positions of lying and sitting and standing, and an individual program that's tailored to each child's needs. She makes phenomenal progress, and she really enjoys doing it at the same time.
In some ways, the real benefits of the program come from the after-school work that the kids do together. And our greatest joy here is watching Jessie pushed by other kids or pushing other kids to try things that she hasn't wanted to try before. When another child is watching, someone she wants to make proud, she's really going to go out on a limb and try to do that. So. There are some other places in the country that do conductive ed, but as far as I know, this is the only place where there's an actual residential program, and that makes a huge difference. Having the families live here 24 hours a day, and our abilities to support each other, and also the kids' abilities to support each other while we're living here, I think is the thing that makes this conductive education center so unique.
Christopher, age 6, has cerebral palsy spastic diplegia. He uses his K-walker for long distances and is able to use his quad canes for short distances. After the 5 weeks, we see him using his quad canes to perform some advanced walking tasks by stepping through the rungs of a ladder. And here we see him taking some independent steps. He is being asked to stop after every step to regain his balance and then take another step. At the beginning of Christopher's second trip to Ability Camp, He is walking quite well now with his quad canes. Too well, time for a change. He goes through the advanced tasks, walking through a ladder, walking over a wedge, and stepping onto a box. After his second 5-week session, he is now able to use 2 single canes, which give him far less support. His independent walking has also greatly improved. Corvin is 18 months old and has cerebral palsy, spastic hemiplegia. He has very little head control and is unable to sit, stand, or roll. His grandmother tries to get him to lift his head, but he is unable to hold it up. When he tries to take steps with assistance, he steps on his own feet. After 5 weeks, he is lying on his tummy, lifting his head and reaching for the ball. He can hold his head up sitting on the floor and also while sitting on a stool and holding a ladder-back chair. Corvin is now able to stand with only minor assistance at his arms. In the before pictures of Corvin, the conductor was supporting most of his weight. Here, he is bearing his own weight while we give him minor assistance at the arms and also help him with a proper placement of his feet while stepping. David is 4 years old and has cerebral palsy with autistic tendencies. He is not able to weight bear or stand even with support. David is able to move his gait trainer, which completely supports his weight, but he has very little directional control. After the 5-week session, we see that he can now weight bear, and with only minor assistance, he is taking steps while pushing a walker. The center divider helps to prevent his feet from crossing. Elijah is 5 years old and has spina bifida. His upper body is not affected and he is quite strong. He is able to transfer in and out of his chair, and he spends most of his time in his wheelchair and the rest of the time he spends crawling on the floor. After the 5 weeks, we see him wearing his leg braces, and for the first time in his life, he is taking steps on his own legs. He has done very well with his walker, and he is able to steer it and go anywhere he wants to. Francesco is 14 years old and has cerebral palsy with athetoid movements. These athetoid overmovements have prevented him from being able to sit up, so he spends most of his time strapped into his wheelchair. He does not use his arms and is totally dependent. After 5 weeks, he can now sit on the floor in a cross-legged position. Now, for the first time in his life, he is able to sit on a chair without being strapped in. His chair has a center pummel and he is holding a grab bar with one hand. While maintaining his sitting balance, he is able to pick up a beanbag and place it in a basket. In the small picture at the top of your screen, we see one of our conductors trying to assist Francesco to step at the beginning of the session. In the larger picture taken at the end of the 5-week session, we are now able to assist him walk with much less effort. He is also able to step quite well with the help of 2 people, one on either side. Madeline is 2 years old and has athetoid cerebral palsy. She is not able to sit on a regular chair or stool and she is only able to take steps in this pony walker that completely supports her own weight. After 5 weeks, she is able to stand up from a stool and take some steps while wearing arm splints and holding a ladder-back chair. She is also learning to use a walker that does not support her weight with only minimal assistance at her hips. Madeline returned for a second session at Ability Camp, and we can see after this session she is now able to stand up from a stool by using her walker, and she is also able to sit back down. She can now use her walker very well without any assistance. Mike is 10 years old and has athetoid cerebral palsy. At the start of the session, Mike is not able to pull himself up on the standing ladder, or is he able to remain in a standing position. Mike is not able to sit on a stool securely, and our conductor must assist him to hold his sitting balance. He is not able to sit on the floor. After the 5-week session, he is now able to pull himself up to the standing position and he now has enough control over his movements that he is able to stand on his own. Mike has the balance to sit on a stool, and he is also able to keep his balance while turning around while seated. This is Nick during the 3rd day of our camp. He is 10 years old and has spastic triplegia cerebral palsy. When using his walker, he has his arms strapped into an armrest. In his school, they sit him in a posture control chair with a high back and armrest, as he had difficulty maintaining his balance. He has limited use of his right hand and is not able to hold objects for any length of time. At the end of the 5-week session, Nick is now able to use a walker without the extra support of his armrest. He is also pushing the walker ahead of him, which is far more difficult because he can no longer support his own weight on his arms, and now he must do more work with his legs and trunk. He is also practicing to stand and balance by using quad canes. Nick and his family came back to the camp for a second session. He has been working very hard and is now able to stand up from a stool by using his quad canes, and he is able, with close supervision, to walk with them. Although he appears to be struggling, he has just learned how to use these canes, and with practice, this too will get much easier. Nicholas spends most of his time strapped into his wheelchair or posture chair. We can see that he is not able to sit, and he has very poor head control. He is also not able to hold his grip for any length of time. Now, after only 5 weeks, we see him wearing arm splints and able to hold his sitting position on the floor. He is also holding his head up much better than he did before. He looks very proud while he sits at the plinth, holding on to a bar. He no longer requires the straps for support. He can stand by himself while holding a ladder-back chair. He has a center divider to help prevent him from crossing his legs, and our conductor is helping to guide his walker, but Nicholas is taking his steps without anyone touching him. Sam has spastic quadriplegia cerebral palsy and is 4 years old. He currently uses a walker that supports his weight, and when we try to take steps in his bare feet, we see that he is completely on his toes. Even when wearing his AFOs, he still gets his heels up, which gives him a very unstable base in which to try to balance. After the 5-week session, he now wears orthopedic shoes and can stand up from a stool and use a walker without anyone's assistance. He now places his heels down, which makes his walking more stable. Sam has also learned to stand up from the floor with his walker and to get back down onto the floor. Sarah has spastic diplegia cerebral palsy, and at age 11 spends most of her time in a wheelchair at school. She is able to use quad canes for short distances, but she uses a walker for longer distances. Sarah's legs are quite weak, and it is very difficult for her to try and weight bear on one leg to step up on this low box. At the end of the 5-week session, she is now able to use her quad canes and climb up low stairs. She has become much stronger and is capable of using her canes in any situation. We see her practicing with single canes. These canes give her far less stability, which requires her to do more of the work with her legs, trunk, and her balance. She is working very hard, but with practice, walking will become much easier.